This week on the Bird's Nest, we have some juicy things to cover in our new segment. We're also going to look into the events for this week, and we're going to talk about the changing weather on the West Coast. And of course, we have those viewer-submitted questions, plus that all-important update on our giveaways at the end of the video. Hi, I'm Bryce. If you're new here, we cover all things fishing, from products and services that can improve your skill or enjoyment of the sport to the current news coming out of the fishing industry. If this sounds like something that interests you, please hit that subscribe button, as it really helps our channel out. ABF is holding their national championships this week from the 19th to the 21st. They will have the team challenge, the monthly challenge, the trail challenge, as well as the KBF national championship. So winners from these individual events will have a chance to make the 10, or really more like the 13 or 15. I know KBF is confusing, but rest assured, once all the dust is settled, we'll bring you all the updates and let you know who's going where and who won what. For our California tournament anglers, the state released permits for next year, so a number of the schedules have been released. For our kayak anglers, the b.a.s.s has released their schedule for 2023, and they're going all year long, with the exception of September, which will be an off month. The schedule looks a little different from last year, so stop by their Facebook page to see the schedule. California Bass Nation and Wild West Bass Trail Kayak will be hosting all of their events jointly next year, and their schedule has been released as well. I'm told that all their events are also going to be in open launch next year. What's really interesting about their schedule is that all their fishing will be done by May. This seems like a great idea, where you have the advantage of fishing the spawn and being done by the time the weather really starts to get hot, in addition to freeing up summers for anglers to spend with their families or fish other series. I really think this schedule was a great idea. Head on over to California Bass Nation Kayaks or Wild West Bass Trail's website to check their schedules out. I encourage anyone who has been debating on signing up to participate. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments for me, and I'll be sure to answer them for you. As most people who watch this channel regularly know, that you need to fish the California Bass Nation Kayak or the Wild West Bass Trail Kayak events to give yourself a shot to make it to the Kayak Pro Tour, or KPT. As stated on their Facebook page, invites for the 2023 season were sent out to potential anglers last Friday. So if you're expecting to get an invitation and you haven't, check your email. If not, use this year to improve your skill, and the best of luck for next year. For those of you who are unfamiliar with KPT, it is an up-and-coming professional kayak series designed to be the series on the West Coast, running different format from most tournaments. Garrett Clark won the first event at Lake Tulloch and conducted an interview with Kayak Bass Nation Live on May 31st earlier this year, and provided that KPT schedule is unknown to all the anglers, who are only told 30 days before the event, putting them immediately in the blackout period. So there is no pre-fishing, there is no practice, and they operate 2-day events with a 14-inch minimum. When more information is released concerning KPT, you can bet your bottom dollar we'll be bringing you those updates. The 2023 Bass Pro Tour schedule was also released. The action for Stage 1 starts on February 13th through the 18th in the Kissimmee chain. Head on over to MLF's website to get all the scoop on the multi-stage series happening next year. Last week, we discussed the results for the 2022 Right Waters Bassmasters Kayak Series at Lake Pickwick, which was won by Drew Gregory. Or was it? Bassmasters has found themselves in the thick of it after several protests were launched against Gregory for fishing waters out of bounds, similar to what happened earlier in the year to Gene Jensen from the KBF event. The community is calling for transparency into the investigation surrounding the protest, but thus far, Bassmasters has been tight-lipped. The controversy thickens when the rules for the event are examined on the Tourney X website. While there are rules, they are very vague, and they leave a bunch open for interpretation. Other than knowing that several protests were launched, we are really left without any additional information. So at this point, it is impossible for any of us to Monday night quarterback what happened or what should happen. I just find it very disappointing as a kayak angler that it takes this long to get a decision from a protest, but also in the fact that we are having to beg for transparency and information that has yet to be produced. I think the industry can do a much better job. If you're ready for some more juicy news, here we go. No one can forget Runyon and Kaminsky cheating at the walleye tournament by stuffing lead weights and fillets into the fish prior to weigh-ins, as videos and memes have circulated the globe in the past month, making it the most viral videos. As more information comes to light, there are some serious questions as to why these two were even allowed to compete. Little did most people know, but the two were embroiled in controversy in the fall of 2021 when the pair was disqualified for cheating and a subsequent loss of their sponsorships. The disqualification would come as one of the two failed the Polygraph Test concerning the fish they brought in. not to mention the duo being accused and currently under investigation for possibly, who am I kidding, for cheating in a walleye tournament the month prior. First and foremost, let me put this out there. As most of you know, I have an extensive career in law enforcement, but there is absolutely nothing scientific at all about a polygraph test. Polygraphs can't be submitted to courts as evidence, so it is beyond me why tournaments are even using these as a method to determine fair play. In all actuality, if you were to polygraph someone and then use those results to solely disqualify him, it is likely they would win that case if it was pursued legally. The purpose of a polygraph is to get the test subject to admit to their dishonesty, but shy of that, it's really a waste of time and money. However, I truly believe that there must have been another reason why a polygraph test would even be requested from our two cheaters. So we have to take that with a grain of salt. With the history of disqualification due to cheating, there should be no way that these two should have been allowed to compete in any more tournaments. I understand that earlier in this broadcast, we discussed Gene Jensen being disqualified and now possibly Drew Gregory, but there's clearly a difference between two anglers being disqualified for fishing in waters off limits, where one is currently only suspected and the other, in Gene Jensen, fully acknowledging that he was unaware he was in violation of the rules, but maintaining his decorum and accepting responsibility for his actions. The more you read into our walleye cheaters, the more you begin to see that these two people are straight scumbags and have no place in our industry. As you may recall from the initial story, we wish that they would actually spend some time in jail for their purely disgusting act. Well, if you haven't heard, justice is on the horizon, and I can hear those scales of justice creaking as they begin to level out. The state of Ohio formally charged the pair with felony cheating, attempted grand theft, possession of criminal tools, and misdemeanors of unlawful wildlife possession. The fallout and rampant media attention from this act makes it highly unlikely that any favorable plea deal will be struck, and it's likely these two will be doing some time and possibly barred from being able to attain a fishing license in the future. I can only wonder how quickly they will start to point the finger at one another. Our story ends on an even brighter note, with the state of Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission seizing a boat, trailer, and fishing equipment from Kaminsky. Of course, as more information and a resolution becomes available, we'll bring it right to you. b.a.s.s will be hosting their Tournament of Champions this weekend at Lake b.a.s.s. This is a 2-day event, and all the qualified anglers have yet to sign up. So b.a.s.s has opened the sign up so everybody who is either a member or who wants to join to fish a tournament that's not a member can sign up. On last check, 27 spots are still available. So if you're looking for some late season unexpected tournament action, head on over to Tourney X and sign up. If I wasn't already committed to obligations for this upcoming weekend, I surely would have been going. New Gen Bass is holding their 2022 Team Tournament of Champions at Clear Lake, where the anglers will be competing for a 2022 Ranger Z 518 with a Mercury 150 for each member of the team. How cool is that? If you win, both members get a boat. That's awesome. The 2022 Future Pro Tour will be having a Central Region event at Lake Don Pedro. All right, let's get into some jokes now. Of course, our cheesy joke time is here. What do you call a fish that won't shut up? A big mouth bass. Come on, these are seriously cheesy. It's so incredibly hard to keep a straight face while I'm reading these, and I hope you guys are getting as much enjoyment out of this as I am. Please, if any of you have any jokes, please feel free to send them my way, and I will feature them on our show and send you a pack of free stickers. Let's get into the weather for this upcoming week. California can now finally rejoice, for we are officially in fall. The temps drop significantly for this next week, with the highs in the mid to low 80s and the lows to the 50s. All week, there will be cloudy skies in the region, and above average rainfall is expected to the Pacific Northwest and possibly and hopefully to the upper portions of Northern California. With the cloudy skies, the bite should remain good and active, making it a great time for some topwater action. For our product highlight this week, we actually have some exciting news. I am now officially a member of Team YellowTech. If you don't know who YellowTech is, they are a company that makes these really awesome camera mounts for your boat and or kayak. And before you say, okay, everybody does that, they do it in a different way. Their mounts provide you with all-day power to your action camera as the mount goes into your nav light port. If you're curious to see this in action, I have ordered a new kit that should be here on Thursday, so hopefully by Friday, I can do an installation and product review video. But if you want to check out Yellowtech now for yourself, I'll leave a link in the description below. As a disclaimer, while I am a member of their pro team, Yellowtech is not paying me and has not asked me to say anything about them at all. I purchased this kit with my own money, but if you do use the link below and purchase something, the channel will earn a small commission. Let's chip away at our viewer submitted questions. Our first question asks, what's the biggest bass you have ever caught? Well, I could tell you a huge one, but who would actually believe that? Because seeing is believing. I only recently began recording my fishing trips this year, so if I tell you about the biggest bass I ever caught, it would have to come from this year. Well, the biggest one that I put in this boat. The biggest bass I caught was on a frog in the California Delta in the spring, which you should now be able to see on your screen. The second question is, how much does it cost to enter a bass tournament? I will default back to my favorite answer when it comes to fishing. It depends. Fishing tournaments come in all shapes, sizes, and flavors. You can purchase a Monster Bass box through the link below and receive a free entry to their online monthly bass tournament. You can also find local and regional fishing tournaments that can cost anywhere from $100 to $250. On the flip side, you can find some pro tournaments that can cost upwards of $500 or more. The best thing to do is to download the Tourney X or Fishing Chaos app and find a tournament in your local area, and all the details will be listed there. You can also look online and find the nearest bass club for you to join and take part in their tournaments. Our next viewer wants to know, where would I buy a bass boat if I want it fully decked out with the trolling motor, sonar, live wells, and all the other equipment, and what brand of boat would you pick? Man, that is a question. First, I would say any brand of boat is going to be great, and they all come with their pros and cons. But you need to do your research to find the relevant type of fishing boat that matches the type of fishing you intend to do. When it comes to where you buy, you would need to first decide if you wanted to buy a used or a new boat. If you wanted to buy a used, you could search Facebook or other online marketplaces to find boats that are already installed with all these items at a fraction of the cost. On the flip side, you could go to places like Bass Pro Shops or a local marine sales center, and they should be able to hook you up with whatever you want, both new and used. But I always recommend buying used, as it saves you money, plus it's always a good idea to buy a used boat as your first boat. But make sure you have it inspected if you don't know what you're looking for. Our fourth question asks, why don't you use landing nets in bass tournaments? I would say to that is that most bass tournament anglers do use landing nets. As a tournament angler, when you hook up with a fish, you absolutely want to get that fish in the net because it can make a difference between winning thousands of dollars versus as you paying to have a fun weekend. To the best of my knowledge, only the Bassmasters Elite Series anglers are not allowed to use nets, but all the other series are. Our final question for this week is, I'm thinking about getting my first chatterbait. What conditions would I use it in? The first part of this answer is simply, you can fish a chatterbait all year long, and really anytime you would throw a spinnerbait. But chatterbaits can be effective in late winter and early fall. However, you should see the most production coming from a chatterbait in the springtime during the pre-spawn. For our fishing tip this week to improve your skills, you want to be able to fish different conditions. As the colder months draw closer, most anglers will hang up their rods for rifles or bows. This leaves the water wide open. For those that fish all year, a majority of the anglers will stay inside when the weather isn't optimal and when it's windy, cloudy, or rainy, or even very hot. These are the best times to learn the patterns and when the weather is not ideal, and is really what you need to become a better angler. Coming up this week, we're going to be making that angler app that we talked about last week. We're going to bring you a new Tackle Tip Tuesday, and if our equipment from Yellowtech arrives, we're going to do the installation and review video for you. Looking at our channel's analytics, we are at 40 subscribers. We are 10 more away from sending a free sticker pack to somebody and 60 or more from sending out a Monster Bass box. So please hop on the bandwagon and subscribe to our channel. If you enjoyed the content, please like this video. That's all for now. Catch you next time.